Welcome to Get Wisdom Live with Carl Mollison and Brian Kelly. What if God was also a co-host? What if the historically rare ability to question God directly and get profound answers back has been rediscovered? What would God say to today's sophisticated but deeply troubled world? Get Wisdom Live is here to share those answers with you. Here is Carl Mollison and Brian Kelly. Welcome to another episode of Get Wisdom Live. I'm Brian Kelly, along with Get Wisdom founder and director, Carl Mollison. This month, Creator discusses Ascension, which is a very uplifting topic, Carl, I must say.
Well, that is the point of Ascension, but we do have to get there. And so we'll be talking a lot about that today. Ascension is our destiny and our deliverance from the kind of grief we've come to accept in the world we inhabit. Everyone decries things aren't better than they could be. And one would think that in this more modern era, as we like to think of it, we'd be too smart to fall into the same traps that get us in trouble over and over. Things like warfare, things like not being able to get out of poverty in wide swaths of the population, and we just seem to go round and round with heartache and misery all too often on a personal level as well as a group level. So Ascension is a kind of turning point that allows us to escape from those travails, because they're not natural. They're imposed on us, and that's the problem of evil. So I'm looking forward to this presentation. There's a lot of meat here.
Yes, very interesting answers to some questions that were asked. The goal of this show, from my particular standpoint, was to try to kind of pull the curtain back on the topic and ask some more detailed questions about what is this ascension thing? What's it really all about? What are our expectations? What can we expect to have happen, and why? So we got a lot more questions after this show, because we're just beginning this exploration. So here we go, Carl. It's going to be interesting. You asked Creator, a lot of folks have an idea of what is meant by the word ascension. Google's dictionary definition of the word is the act of rising to an important position or a higher level, unquote. That seems to fit well with Creator's disclosures about the nature and even purpose of the ascension. But clearly, that is just a starting point. Can Creator give us a definition of ascension that we can competently and coherently use to inform someone completely new to the concept?
All right, well, here we go. This is what I channeled from Creator of all that is. These are Creator's words. The process of ascension and its goal is for you to graduate from your time in the physical plane as explorers and would-be healers of the darkness here to solve the problem of evil. That is your purpose for creation to begin with. You are special beings, some of you newly created, others old souls from long, long ago, well before the creation of the current universe. But all are volunteers existing here in the physical plane of Earth to work on healing the dark beings, both the demonic spirit cohort and multiple races of extraterrestrial beings who are the apex predators within the Milky Way galaxy and have invaded the Earth to ensnare you, hold you down, hold you back, and with an intent to annihilate you. If you solve the problem of evil, you will escape that fate, and your reward will be you will no longer be needed in the earth plane, because enough healing will have been launched to continue working on these dark ones to eventually save them from extinction. The ascension will raise you up to a higher dimension, no longer in the physical at all, but once again as light beings, your origin prior to incarnation, coming as you do from the heavenly realm. But those within the universe and other settings, other planets and galaxies, all live under a restricted energy, courtesy of the law of karma, to keep everything running smoothly. So there are guardrails beyond which you cannot go because of strict consequences enforced by the law of karma. While that keeps everything orderly, it keeps everything quite routine and leads to a kind of sameness with a reduced degree of variety, and it works to stifle creativity by restricting the imagination. Beings in the higher realms no longer wish to test the limits and will not even go close. What is lacking is an incentive for creativity, and that has limited what can happen within the entirety of the universe. That has been a good thing because relaxation of the law of karma within the Earth plane as a part of the Milky Way galaxy has led to the rise of evil long before Earth was actually a habitable planet. And thus, you were created to solve that dilemma and raise up those in need of realignment with the divine as a means of graduating from this indeterminate status of things. With the successful healing in place to save yourselves, that will presage the successful healing of all in the galaxy through the stored healing requests you will have generated. And you will no longer need to be in the physical at all. Your work will have been done. Your reward will be moving into a higher dimension, a much greater range, scope, and degree of flexibility you will have in deciding what you do with your energy, where you wish to be, who you wish to be with, what you want to see happen, and a myriad of things you can create out of raw energy. This will be a vast new playground as well as workplace for serious business of all kinds to explore the limits of your reach, benefiting from the inner wisdom gained in your time in the physical, experiencing all too well the consequences of wrongdoing, misdirected thoughts, poor choices, and judgment of the self and others, and all that happens as a consequence of negativity. Rather than to be trapped, as with a dark mindset of prejudice and cynical beliefs, you will be lofty, truly a divine part of us still. Having originated from our consciousness as separate extensions, that will continue with much greater freedom and power to explore and expand on the possibilities in using the energy available to you without limit. There will still be constraints imposed by the law of karma, but in the relaxed sense you experience it as a human, it will not give you an immediate pushback. You will be allowed to expand and explore, take risks, be daring, be courageous and bold in what you do. There will be consequences always for anything out of alignment, but given the hard-won learning of your time on the earth, we do not expect anyone to become an evildoer, as happens all too regularly on the earth, because you are patterning after dark beings who invaded your world and manipulate you relentlessly to be like them and not like us. So, ascension is a return to being like us. It is a way of life you long for without truly remembering it is your origin. But that is the reason you are hungry and thirsty for living in a divine way with its joys and rewards. This you will have in even greater measure in moving into a mode energetically more lofty than your origin. And as such, you will be special beings, highly placed and with power and privileges accorded to you based on your maturation and level of accomplishment in graduating from the earth plane.
So a big word right here, Carl, is graduating, which implies that this is a temporary locale. We graduate from a school and we're not in school forever. We're there for preparation for a greater undertaking. That's the whole point of graduating. And creators use the word graduate here a couple of times. So it's back to this idea that Earth is a schoolhouse and that our lives are a form of training that's going on, and that we're graduating to something greater. And we know that we reincarnate, right? And that we go back to the light between reincarnations. In fact, we have to. We can't reincarnate without going back to light. We've learned that. So, what's different about ascension from simply returning the light between lives? And what Creator says is that when you ascend, however, there'll be a vast new playground. It's the word new, right? Something new. It's not just the same old heaven we go back to. This is going to be much bigger and vaster, Carl.
Yeah, and we'll be in a higher place than we are when we go back in between incarnations into the heavenly realm. We'll be in a higher plane yet
Yes.
than where we come from. And the other thing about it is this isn't just an academic exercise being here in the earth plane, as Creator is pointing out. We're here for serious action. We're
Yes.
supposed to solve the problem of evil. So how are you doing with that out there in listener land? Are you cleaning up your little corner of the universe? Are you helping beyond that?
Yeah.
Maybe with loved ones to help them overcome their adversity. I mean, this is a tall order.
Yeah. This is so many ramifications. It's a huge topic. You ask Creator. Clearly, ascension is much more than just climbing the stairs or riding the elevator from one floor to another in a cookie cutter office building. It sounds more like a transformation, a radical change of state, more akin to a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. What is Creator's perspective?
All right, Creator says that is indeed a perfect metaphor to describe the contrast between who you are as a physical human and who you will become as an advanced light being among the loftiest of light beings. Unlike the caterpillar inching along, having to survive through consuming other life forms, fragile to the vagaries of weather and predators who might eat you, you will become like the butterfly, able to soar, fly about, unrestricted in your ability to move in any direction, go anywhere, high or low, you choose. You will continue as a soul based being to be immortal, but that will have greater meaning than ever before because as an individual, you will have greater reach, greater power. You will be able to create things out of raw energy solely through your mind, your thoughts alone. You will have the ability to create any environment you can conceive of, including things never before in existence. You will naturally desire and configure a new loving nest to inhabit and share with others of like mind and stature, especially loved ones in a communal arrangement reflecting the unity of souls that you are a part of. That does not mean something akin to living in a high rise building. You can be as isolated physically as you choose because you will be able to move instantly anywhere you wish to go. So you can have time with others and time alone as you choose. You will not need a vehicle. Your thoughts alone will take you places. You will see wonders and experience modes of being and a range of feelings and experiences far beyond the reach of your imagination currently. This is the deeper meaning of what we have told you in having the ability to explore in a fullest possible way anything and everything about the energy of which you are a part and upon which you can be an influence. As a part of us, you will share our creative powers, and our intention is for you to exhibit and utilize those to the fullest extent possible. That is how the universe will expand in the possibilities of our presence here within it. You are the bridge in between us and everything else. This puts you in a godlike mode personally. That is only fitting given you are a part of us to begin with, and we want to share our capabilities with you. This is a partnership because we want in return the fullest measure of your being exhibited through your works, and in sharing that with you, we'll learn and grow by all you do and discover. What that means is you will no longer be students in a kindergarten trying to feel your way along without bumping into things and being injured too greatly, always being a learner, always being subordinate to someone with greater power, telling you what to do, where to go, how to be. All these things you will decide for yourselves. You will basically create your world anew according to how you wish it to be. It is like the biggest of possible dreams, but the difference will be it will be in reality and not a dream. And you will have the actual powers needed to do anything you wish without limit, except for the limits of divine alignment as a potential reckoning via the law of karma. To be sure, there will be a need for adjustment, but you have had much, much practice as light beings already. You have simply not experienced life as a light being without being on a short leash provided by the law of karma. So your graduation from the earth plane will be far vaster than returning to life as a light being, because you will transcend that as well, to be in an even higher mode and range of influence and capability than you have ever experienced heretofore.
Well, there you go. There's Creator saying exactly what you said earlier, Carl, that we're going to an even higher place than we go between lifetimes. So there it is, in black and white.
Well, and it sounds amazing and awesome and a little bit daunting. People don't trust one another at the moment as it is. Imagine if people had fantastic power
Yeah, well, yeah.
to change things, make things happen, manipulate energy, and so on. My goodness, I mean, we better be ready. We better be
It
in a
sounds very dangerous.
lofty, yeah, a light. We need to be in a lofty light being mode in divine alignment
Yes,
to
because we
have that
see,
kind of power.
yeah, we see with just the limited power we have. If you're not in divine alignment, what results? World War II results. I mean, bad things happen when you're not in a divine when a population is not in divine alignment. So obviously the requirement for ascension is that we need to be in a divine alignment. Creator has said that. So that's a big focus of ours for sure. You ask Creator, we know it's not just humanity that ascends, but Earth itself, and us along for the ride. Is this an unprecedented thing for a planet to do, or have other planets done this in the Milky Way galaxy's past, or in past iterations of the universe? We know solving the problem of evil once and for all is an unprecedented event, but that seems like an entirely separate agenda, not inextricably tied to the process of planetary and species ascension. Or is it? What can Creator tell us?
All right, Creator says, light beings currently can mold and shape and influence the physical to transform its energies and create new possibilities in shaping the environment to their liking to make things happen. So the light being can be surrounded with other life forms of their choosing, perhaps garnished liberally with flowers, if they find that joyous and rewarding. But what you will be able to do in your new ascended form will have a much greater impact and range of options, so you can be much more ambitious and bold in your creations. And this is true in your influence on the earth. Rather than adapting as a physical being to the vagaries of climate and what a location might offer in terms of building materials, the presence or absence of other life forms of various kinds, and so on, the earth will be adaptable in myriad ways through your consciousness to shape it into anything you decide. Having experienced a variety of habitats and environmental categories, you will be able to have a similar variety of environments, but without the need for extremes that are less rewarding. Because life is about love, and the absence of life forms is a lower vibrational state, you will want to have a world teeming with life. And your long conditioning on the earth will make many of those life forms much like old friends and quite rewarding to have around you in abundance, such as lush forests, wildflowers, and living creatures that are friendly and no danger at all, but interesting in their habits and adding a unique variety to the experiencing you will be enjoying. You can populate the earth with new species of your design. And this alone has endless possibilities for learning and further growth and understanding not only what is possible, but what the benefits and consequences are among the endless choices and makeup and configuration. You have always been a partner with the earth. Because everything is interconnected, that partnership will be even more dynamic and rewarding. You will learn new ways of integrating energetically with other beings. The earth has much to teach you still, and that will be a joyous exploration that will be extremely rewarding for all involved. You will experience the consciousness of other beings like never before. And that will be a source of fascination and continual reward with the enjoyment, stimulation, and spurs to greater creativity you will enjoy and share with all around you. The earth has been a teacher for you throughout all your history as a human being in the physical, incarnating again and again into different settings and learning as you go. Now you will be more the teacher because of your power to change the earth and its makeup, but it will continue to teach you as well and giving feedback about your decisions and influence. And that too will expand you with growth and learning, not possible in any other way. All of the consciousness has within it potential for creativity. And that will be enhanced the more it is called on and given an opportunity to exhibit its potential. That is the essence of being a creator. And that is the ultimate meaning of ascension, growing into your fullest potential. That will be an endless journey, as it is for us in the creation of all that is.
So, again, this last sentence here, creator is basically saying that we are destined to become essentially co creators with creation and the divine. Now, think about the ramifications of that, because in the physical, we can't create life. All we can do is manipulate what's already been created, right? Even genetically, you're just modifying, but you're not actually creating fresh and new. But we're being told that as co creators, we'll be able to create and manifest new life. And I think the big thing that people have to take away from that is when you create new life, you are responsible for that life. You are that life is an extension of you now, and you have to be in divine alignment to make sure that the fate of that new creation is a good one. So we have to be responsible beings. We have to be self-managing beings at the end, and I think that's what this whole journey is all about, Carl.
Well, exactly. And if you think about all you have learned about nature, its joys and delights, but also its dangers and the complexity and the fact there needs to be a kind of balance so you don't have species with huge die-offs and kind of tragic things as we witness from time to time with overpopulation, and then there's starvation and animals are suffering and the vagaries of climate and weather and so on, and then the human footprint and what that can mean. I mean, we've learned so many things about what can go wrong,
Right.
and we'll newly have power to avoid those things in advance through our creativity. And it will be a responsibility for sure,
Yeah,
but one we'll have the seasoning to contend with.
God does not want careless creators.
Yes.
You ask creator, when people think of heaven, it's easy to think of it as one destination, one place. But isn't that kind of ridiculously simplistic? That would be like thinking when you die, you go to Europe. But Europe is a big place with lots of variety. When you die, do you go to England or France or Romania? If you go to France, do you go to Paris or Marseille? We've been told there are different levels to heaven. When Earth ascends, does it ascend to heaven, quote unquote? And if the answer is a qualified yes, can Creator explain that yes in more detail?
All right. Well, this is what Creator says. There indeed are multiple levels that are essentially differing dimensions, of which the heavenly realm is comprised. This is because there are many kinds of beings and modes of being, some of which are lofty, others less so, but representing a state of being in progress. This is much like life in the physical, where depending on your point of origin at birth, the status and accomplishments of your family, the state of the economy, and political control influencing the culture, you will have one of many, many differing experiences. As all nations are not the same, all locations are not the same, and the culture is quite varied. It is like that in heaven also. Those who have been troubled and difficult and influenced greatly by the darkness will be on a lower level in the heavenly realm than those who are light workers, helpers, humanitarians, and healers. This is all a function of energy because your energy defines much about your current expression. There's always a potential for change, but you are a work in progress. The process of ascension will take you to the highest level, and that will be your new vantage point as well as a springboard for further greatness. It is that greatness we look forward to in representing a new paradigm, in allowing a greater freedom that will be granted throughout the universe in stages, with you as supervisors and helpers to show the way, to monitor and guide, and help to correct mistakes and difficulties as they arise so it can be done peacefully and in a positive and helpful manner. That is what makes learning possible to begin with, as well as successful ultimately. Loving support and a genuine motivation to assist in the creation of a successful outcome for all involved. Because the raising up of others raises up the self. And in the new paradigm, you will be a part of, having lived that in your experiencing, you will understand how to guide things for the further creation of that expanded perspective. And as a light being supreme, you will enjoy especially helping others with their expansion and greater growth. It is the ultimate creation of something new for which you receive rewards and satisfaction.
Well, there you go. Heaven is a complex place, Carl. It's with many different dimensions and environments, and the variety probably goes almost certainly goes way beyond what we see here on Earth, and we have a lot of variety down here.
Well, then it does make sense, does it not, that this would be so?
Yeah.
Because there's quite a large difference among individuals and their backgrounds and their knowledge base and their manner of living and their awareness or lack of awareness about what it means to be in divine alignment, and to the extent they even embrace those sort of concepts at all.
Yeah.
And even though we all come from a high place prior to our incarnation, we're coming from the light. Now we are seeing we're not all coming from the same levels
Yeah.
of the light.
Yes.
And that speaks volumes, I think, about why humans are so varied and some seem so compromised and so helpless and maybe hopeless seeming if they're more dark than light. It's because maybe they've been doing that lifetime after lifetime
Right.
and just kind of hanging on. So this is all work that needs to be done to help raise everyone up. And we're getting into that in this discussion because Ascension is applying a solution for those degrees of difference that need to be improved in order for Ascension to happen.
Yeah. I've read in the past, and I have to ask Creator about this in the future, that in the heavenly realms, like attracts like. So, depending on where you fall on the good and bad spectrum, you're going to end up with a population of cohorts that are very similar to you. And that one of the purposes of incarnating into the physical is because it's here in the physical where the sinner literally meets the saint. That there's not that kind of mixing up in the heavenly realms like there is down here. So that might be something I'll have to throw a crater in the future. But obviously, the idea of ascension is that you're probably graduating to a role where you're going to begin to help manage some of that mixing, perhaps. And so the creator wants responsible beings to be able to do that. It's a huge topic. It's very exciting. You ask creator, we've been told about the divine rules of engagement in great detail since Carl began conversing with archangels. But we're of the understanding that an ascended earth, quote unquote, and an ascended humanity, quote unquote, will come into possession of and be able to engage with the universe with a new set of rules of engagement. Can Creator give us a breakdown of the major differences if this is indeed the case?
All right, Creator answers. The idea for this is quite simple, but heretofore you have not experienced living in a place and state of being where this is operating successfully. It is somewhat like being dropped into the deep end of a swimming pool when your only life experience is with wading in shallow bodies of water, but do not know how to swim. So that greater reach and freedom is actually a liability that can destroy you without having the wherewithal to understand and utilize that as an opportunity. It is difficult for you to understand freedom because if you are safe from evil influence at the moment on the part of others, you are still trapped in physical limitation. You can only walk so fast, run so far, jump so high, live so long, and must care and feed the body, have air to breathe, shelter from the elements, and so on. Much of your existence is working to overcome the energetic demands that would take away or threaten you if not attended to in a timely way. That is part of your learning, to know the contrast posed by limitation and lack and limited power and authority. In a sense, the law of karma is much like that in having a powerful influence and constraint on all light beings. There are rules about where you go and when, what you can do, and what will happen if you overstep boundaries, influencing something in a negative fashion with your energy. That will not only be noticed instantly, but will result in a corrective measure that happens very, very quickly and can be quite unpleasant. In a sense, who you are will be visibly on display. Because your punishment will be visible to all, there will be no place to hide, in effect, to be like an imposter. Because your energy will always be noticed, and if you attempted a deception, that would be discovered and then need to be reckoned with, and at a minimum would be an embarrassment. So, in a sense, you already have enjoyed greater freedom in having the law of karma in abeyance to not provide a continual feedback. You have had a semblance of that at the hands of others who will react if you harm them in some way, and that can certainly be unpleasant and a corrective influence. The problem being, even that may be slow in coming, and the energy behind it mounting all the while with someone harboring resentment, and that building into a grudge and result in great harm to you if unleashed, and you are unable to cope with or dispel that through an act of attrition and be forgiven. So, what we are talking about is there will be a relaxation of consequences throughout the universe to allow greater individual freedom. So, in a sense, it will not be so different to you. And that is what you have been practicing all along with your time in the physical earth plane, living under relaxed rules in terms of the automatic energetic enforcement of standards. The unfortunate development within the Milky Way galaxy was the rise of evil, with too many being tempted to take advantage of what they could get away with and develop ways to deceive others, hide their wrongdoing, exploit others surreptitiously to gain an advantage, to serve themselves, and so on. Whole cultures have adopted ways of being that are substandard in being out of divine alignment. a coarsening, a cheapening of life. Eventually, there is a karmic consequence for that, but as sensitive spiritual beings, you will feel quite keenly being mistreated. And the experiencing of that without outside help to rein in a perpetrator, for example, to save you, has been a harsh lesson you have endured again and again and again through the ages with multiple reincarnations, living among sources of evil influence on your fellow human beings and yourself included. You have learned what it is like to think like a perpetrator and to act as a perpetrator at times. So, in a sense, your existence will be only different and having greater power and influence than ever before. But given you have unlimited possibles available to you, we expect that your experiencing of negativity and the consequences of evil will serve as a reminder of the value of staying in divine balance so you can self correct any transgression before the consequences grow. If you nip things in the bud before they become truly serious, that will only help strengthen you further and add to your wisdom and effectiveness. And that will bring the possibility of being able to do even grander things and with even greater reach, because you will learn your way along, knowing bad things can happen. So you will be on the watch for them, and you will see them coming and react quickly, knowing how to counter them from within yourself rather than relying on the guardrails from the law of karma to take care of the problem. You will have a level of understanding and maturity that could be gained in no other way than living it and suffering the consequences to oneself directly. This is the silver lining in having so many lifetimes of adversity, being victimized by neglect, prejudice, and the selfish choices of those having an advantage in serving themselves at your expense. What you have been doing all along is learning how to live in a state of perfection, but doing it the hard way in an environment that perpetually kept you out of reach of your goal. What will change is the removal of evil as an influence. You will be defining the rules of engagement and what you wish to see happen and how you make course corrections and readjustment of things along the way to head off trouble, to keep things in balance. So you are living according to divine principles, to raise up the self, but with no harm to others, and to raise up others with no harm to the self. That is true divinity in the art of living. Who better to decide how to conduct such a life than one who has lived and seen the worst of what can happen, but who has been raised up through healing so they are not condemned to repeat it, but hold within the wisdom to choose always a wiser path that will take you wherever you wish to go, but with the benefit to all as a built in consequence that will always be raising you up and not diminishing you in a way that would lead to suffering.
A big takeaway from this is Creator said that we actually experience more freedom down here in the physical than we have back in the light. Now, granted, there's a lot of more restraints, and so we have very narrow karmic guardrails that we have to follow in. But we do have greater freedom in terms of choices and with the delay of a karmic response. And to me, I had the thought that could be one of the reasons why, even though many come down here and suffer greatly, that even once we get back to heaven, there might still be an eagerness to return, and that so that when we come back in reincarnation, it's choice. That we actually come back because we want to come back. It's not a punishment to be here per se. It can be punishing to be here, but it's not meant to be a punishment. So it's fascinating stuff here, Carl.
Well, and we have work to do because we will not ascend to that high, lofty perch without healing all of this evil.
Yes.
And that is our mandate. And that is the reason we were created to begin with. And most people are not on that path.
No.
They're wasting time. They're using up their lives on kind of narrow pursuits of self interest and value that don't really contribute to their own growth, other than maybe keeping out of trouble, which is okay.
Yeah, it's better than
But
getting
you're
into
not moving
trouble.
forward in a way towards ascension unless you're helping with the problem of healing and solving evil in everyone and everything.
Of course, if you're on the sidelines and you're just, treading water, you're probably not learning. And sometimes it might be better to be a part of the problem if you're actually learning from it than just doing nothing and sitting on the sidelines. So
Yeah,
there's so much to do.
valuable
People,
insight to be sure that suffering has an inherent value in learning.
no doubt about it. You ask Creator, we have been told that mosquitoes will not ascend and be resident on an ascended Earth. Why is that? And how is that determined? Are they selected out by divine will, Earth's will, humanity's will? Or will their particular vibration simply prevent them from ascending? And so the ascension is a fatal event for them. Of all the millions of species on Earth, what percentage of them will ascend successfully? And of course, creation is never finished, so it is assumed the door is open for new species to appear in ascended Earth's future. What can Creator tell us?
All right. Creator says ascension is a rebirth. And as such, you will be born into a new configuration, quite different than you are familiar with as a physical human being. The same will be so for the earth as a whole and all of its energy. It will be transformed and reconfigured. And as such, it will retain the energies within it to replicate its makeup. But that will be just a starting point, a kind of basal configuration. Most of the organisms you are familiar with on the physical earth will not be present in the new dimension because they are not configured for another kind of existence. You as well will be comprised of energy and not a physical human body, unless you choose to reconfigure yourself to have that experiencing. So the earth and its energy will be in a new form, and its consciousness will be adapted and influenced by you as a creator to repurpose it for new expressions of life forms as a kind of habitat for your personal enjoyment and that of your fellow beings. This will continue the partnership you have had with all of Gaia. The earth will appreciate you more as a partner, as an advanced light being, than as a physical human. And it has much more to offer you as a higher being than as a lower one you are familiar with. This will only be a good thing. As with the mosquito not making the transition, the earth will have no predators. Just as no human beings will be predatory, all those life forms that are bothersome to humans or even lethal, after all, were created for the extraterrestrial worlds of depravity and were brought here by the extraterrestrials to pester you as humans, simply to be mean, wanting you to suffer. So, once again, the earth will become a loving nest as it was in its initial creation, to be a welcoming and loving environment for you as a human being in the physical.
Well, that's great news, right? No mosquitoes. But there's a lot of important ramifications with this answer. It's quite profound.
Well, and it speaks to the contrast between the physical plane we're in and all its troubles and all its problems and all the adversity of so many different kinds. And what this cleanup, this healing, this mass healing will enable us to experience in the future.
Absolutely.
It's a really wonderful, wonderful thing. But we
Absolutely.
need to get there.
Yes, we do. You ask Creator, when certain biblical figures ascended, as reported in the Bible, they're reported to ascend fully in their physical bodies. That said, the Catholic Church makes a distinction between what happened with Mary, the mother of Jesus, and what happened with Jesus. From Google, quote, the main difference between ascension and assumption is that Jesus ascended into the kingdom of heaven by his own power, while Mary's assumption depended on the power of God, unquote. Is this true? And if it is, what lessons should we draw from this distinction?
All right. Creator says This is not fully within human understanding to interpret the energetic consequences of what is ultimately entirely divine in origin and being expressed through living, as life is a divine energy through and through. In the simplest explanation, it was true that Jesus Christ was more fully divine than others on the earth as human beings, and he underwent a true ascension from the physical as a physical being in being raised up by being taken up. So the entirety of his being was transformed into a higher dimension. So that is a different experience than having the body die and the spirit leaving the body to make its way back to a higher realm, ideally, as was experienced by Mary. What was important was the reality that both Jesus and Mary returned to heaven. But the example of Jesus Christ was a preview of future attractions in the sense that he was ascending in a way that will happen one day to earthlings who are ready for that journey. Jesus Christ was brought into existence fully ready for a return through ascension. All others who incarnate are starting from a lower vibration with the intention they will need to do quite a bit of work. But it is in doing that work that all of humanity can be raised up because there is a collective accumulation of negativity in all of the karmic events, individually and collectively experienced by living humans coping with the vicissitudes of enslavement and subjugation at the hands of extraterrestrial interlopers. You are still slaves yearning to be free, but you are getting there through working on your spirituality. That is raising you up, and that is what can transform all of you through a rebirth into a higher dimension.
I've speculated in the past that Jesus was a divine human prototype. And essentially, Creator is acknowledging that here and saying that Jesus was born ready to ascend, and that it's a preview, right, of what's a coming attraction for us. So, in a very real sense, Jesus was the divine human prototype that we are aspiring to and that we're working towards, Carl.
Yes, a role model par excellence, one could say.
Absolutely. You ask Creator. In the King James Bible, Acts 1, chapter 1, verses 10 through 11, it says, quote, "And while they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, which also said, Ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? The same Jesus which is taken up from you into heaven shall so come in like manner as you have seen him go into heaven." This was unquote. This was reportedly 40 days after his resurrection. It's assumed the men in white apparel were angels or other divine figures. Since Creator has told us there will not be a second coming of Christ for numerous reasons, what meaning can we ascribe to the words of these divine figures to the disciples?
All right, Creator answers. That is a correct interpretation. They were providing an explanation and a vision of your future. They were saying, in effect, this can be done again. This can be done and done again. That is, in the fullest sense, a divine clue that humanity can do this and have this for each of you in your future. And here you are today, 2,000 years later, and near the threshold of ascension. Is that not wondrous and a joyous thing to contemplate? This is why we have said a number of times that all of your suffering has a silver lining. It has served a purpose, and it is leading you somewhere that is truly wonderful and worth the journey, every bit of it, including all the suffering it entailed. It is not so different than being crucified, to be enslaved, to be impoverished, to be diminished through chronic illness or infirmity, or to die young again and again as a karmic consequence of negativity you experience. But that is the school of learning that will catapult you into the grand future through ascension. It is, in a very real sense, your ticket to divinity.
Wow. Yeah, this is, truly is something wonderful and to contemplate, which is what Creator is inviting us to do. So,
Yes, and indeed, we do have to get there, and
yes, we do.
that is what healing is needed to accomplish. We have to heal enough of our wounds to be road ready for ascension. And this is
Yes.
something that hasn't been appreciated very much in the spiritual community. There's a lot of talk about ascension as though, oh, it's going to happen. It might be any minute now.
Right. Right.
And various timetables are envisioned. And, this was going to happen in 2000, it was going to happen in 2012, and so on. But no talk about the fact we might need to do some major healing in order for it to even come about.
Yeah.
And this
There-
is the message we've gotten from Creator for some time now.
Yeah.
And it's
There's
the reason we're offering this divine life support plan to help heal the world and help heal individual people who appreciate there's work to be done for them personally and their loved ones, as well as all others. And
yeah, there
that is the major new message here we're bringing with Get Wisdom, that
absolutely.
Ascension is the plan of Creator, but it won't happen unless we're healed enough to be ready for that event.
Yeah. The thing that Get Wisdom wants to emphasize, and that I think Creator has emphasized through this, is that ascension is the result of healing and not the means of healing.
Yes.
So
Well said.
that's something that pretty much is unique with Get Wisdom. Unfortunately, Carl, I don't, we we don't want to pat ourselves on the back and be proud of this, because it's kind of it's kind of unfortunate that we're the only voice mouthing this message. So we need to get the word out there. We need people to work on this, and we need your help. So keep that in mind. We have been told repeatedly that ascension will not occur for either Earth or humanity until both are sufficiently healed of their traumatic karmic legacy. Can Creator share with us how empowered prayer and the Lightworker healing protocol are the only means now available to assure the ascension takes place and on a timely basis?
All right. This is Creator's answer. This is your heads up. This is a good description of the dire circumstances facing humanity at this juncture. You are nearing a turning point, for better or worse, with the extraterrestrials who run the world from behind the scenes, planning your annihilation. So you are extinct as a species. But that is if you cannot heal them sufficiently to forestall this dark choice and give yourselves some leeway to complete the healing of humanity and allow your escape from their clutches. That is what we hope to see take place through the work of Get Wisdom. It will only happen if enough people are using empowered prayer, and especially the Lightworker Healing Protocol and the newer tool of deep subconscious mind reset. The interlopers need some healing to shift their thinking enough to buy time and allow further healing of humanity. The plan is to encourage them to withdraw for a time, like a vacation. If that pause can be arranged without their heavy influence present, the healing will proceed much more quickly, and in that way, the ascension can come about while they are absent. Through the Lightworker Healing Protocol, we are working on this issue avidly because it is requested as the highest priority. While much is at stake, that is necessary motivation to continue in earnest in working towards this goal by all who hear these words, because all of you can be a force for good. If you are on the sidelines, you are leaving your fate up to others. That is not wise, and in addition is a karmic misstep. As has always been the case since your creation, you have free will and free agency and will decide your destiny. We have inspired you to work for the highest good, even the healing of the evil ones. That is hard for many to understand and accept. But that is thinking like a human, like a victim. Even though you are both, you are still a divine being within. And if you can hew to the higher wisdom you are capable of, you will see that your future destiny transcends all of the suffering of the past and the current dilemma at the hands of depraved beings who, despite their technological superiority, are far beneath you as atheists. So long cut off from divinity, they have become loveless psychopaths. It would be most unfortunate if you consign your fate to their power and control over you and not work to overcome their influence and gain your freedom through a partnership with Creator and the loving beings with us here, wanting your deliverance. If you act now, there is still time for this to work out in your favor. But your energy is needed because, in the end, this is an energetic equation that will decide your fate. The victory will belong to those who put the most energy to bear on the problem. You can outpower your adversaries by partnering with us, but you must do that deliberately and using the right tools to enlist our help in a meaningful way. You must take that first step to be on board.
Yes, your participation is absolutely necessary. And we've been learning all along the way the power that we have to affect change. But we've learned too how to enhance that power because, well, it's like anything else. It's a skill, right? Prayer is a skill, just like anything else. And if you don't do it in an enhanced way, you're not going to get the enhanced results you want, Carl.
Well, and this is the teaching of history all the way along. We've seen how failures come about, how adversity comes about, how suffering comes about over and over and over and over. And we've seen through those few spiritual leaders, the enlightened prophets who were in divine alignment and inviting others to follow that path. There's wisdom in doing it. That's what Christ's life was all about, showing the way, showing how to be in divine alignment is your deliverance. There is no other way. If you're not in divine alignment, you're marking time. You're not moving forward. You're either standing still or more likely falling behind because you won't be fixing the things that break. And those things will build up. And that's the fate people are experiencing in their lives. All the karmic liabilities of the many lifetimes we've endured being pummeled and manipulated and held back and held down over and over again. It's time to break out and break free. We've got to heal it, though, to do that, to move forward, certainly to engage with the ascension. We're not ready. We've been told this directly by Creator. The ascension will not happen unless we heal the interlopers so they leave us alone to heal. That's the order of battle that we're involved in right now. And most people have no idea this problem even exists.
Yeah.
And this is what Creator was teaching 2,000 years ago. But the details were not left in conscious awareness and put into writing. And we're back today and get wisdom as a source of knowledge and information from Creator to make this clear.
Yeah.
So this is within reach. We can make this happen. We can win here.
Yeah, there have been bits and pieces of this wisdom, of this methodology for affecting change scattered throughout history. But I would get wisdom as like a modern version of the Rosetta Stone. That if prior to the discovery of the Rosetta Stone by Napoleon's forces in Egypt, nobody knew what the hieroglyphics in Egypt said for thousands of years. It was all opaque. There was some understanding of some things, and there was lore and history and myths that passed down, but nobody knew what was actually being said until the Rosetta Stone was discovered. And I think that's what Get Wisdom is, Carl. It's the modern Rosetta Stone that now puts all this back together in a coherent and cohesive fashion that can make a exponential change possible.
Well, and it couldn't come any sooner in the nick of time, really, because we're up against it, and no one wants to hear that part of the message. Everybody is all for sweetness and light and things moving in a good direction and having a wonderful future and all of that. No one wants to hear, well, gee, you might have to do something personally. But this is the meaning of existence. It has meaning in its own right, and creation is for a purpose. There is a purpose behind it, and we have a destiny, but we're going to choose that.
Yeah.
So I'm proposing, take heed and choose the right destiny, the one that can happen, that's better for us,
And you can
and
get
not
started.
give in and give up.
You can get started in that journey by downloading the Lightworker Healing Protocol ebook at getwisdom.com/LHP. Also learn about enhanced prayer, getwisdom.com/prayer, and learn most especially about our new divine healing service. Tell them a little bit more about that, Carl.
Well, this is a monthly healing that's done with both of our protocols, as Creator has recommended as the answer for solving the problem of evil. We need to create a huge body of healing intentions, and that's done incrementally each time we use those protocols. And there are many levels of leveraging that enhance the ability to reach beyond the subscribers to many, many others. So you are literally saving and healing the world, all of the Milky Way galaxy, and opening up the universe to all of this future potential Creator has laid out here in this discussion by contributing your money each month, $47. That's a very modest charge for profound healing that will be ongoing. And it has many, many advantages and features built into it. And you can learn all about it through our website, how that works and what it's designed to do. You can also create a wish list of everyone you care about as a member. And there is no limit to who you can nominate to be on your personal wish list to receive healing in parallel. So that means $47 a month. You can have work done on behalf of your entire family and those you care about in your life, maybe coworkers, maybe friends, maybe neighbors you come to know and cherish, on and on. So the only limitation is your awareness and being ignorant of this opportunity, and then perhaps failing to act in doubting what we say is true. But I encourage you to look into it, because we've got a lot of information about this and the whys and wherefores, the justification and evidence of the benefits that can happen. We don't promise anything in particular because the divine can't deliver anything in particular in a timely way, at least. That's the size of the problem speaking, not the limits on divine power. But if you don't ask, you won't get anything. And that's another thing we've learned in talking with Creator. This is a do-it-yourself world. It was set up that way to check out what happens through free agency and free will. We're on our own. But we needn't be cast adrift. No. We can reconnect with the divine through these tools.
You can start that journey right now at getwisdom.com. That's all we have today for Get Wisdom Live. Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Be well.